In this series, I'm taking a deep dive into the tactics criminals use when they work together, specifically how they use positioning to trap a target. I'll break down how these attacks function, explain the strategies behind them, and show you how these same patterns overlap in both nature and in warfare. But in order to start this off, I need to lay some foundational groundwork first, and for that, we're going to Côte d'Ivoire in West Africa. Inside the rainforest of Tai National Park, the chimpanzees use a very clever strategy to hunt colobus monkeys. Colobus monkeys are a difficult prey to catch. They're fast, agile, and exceptional climbers that live together in social groups. Their smaller size gives them a key advantage in the treetops. They can move through tight areas and climb on thinner branches that the larger and heavier chimps can't easily access. A lone chimpanzee would have a difficult time trying to corner and catch one on its own. The chimps have developed a coordinated isolate and encircle strategy to trap the monkeys. As the hunt begins, the chimps take up positions on the forest floor beneath the monkeys. One chimp climbs up into the canopy and flushes the monkeys out, driving them in a particular direction. This driver chimp's sole purpose is to create chaos, to spook the monkeys and force them to flee. Other chimps involved in the hunt take on the role of blockers, positioning themselves in the trees to cut off the fleeing monkeys' possible escape routes. They deliberately position themselves in plain sight and make no attempt to catch the monkeys. Chaser chimps enter into the funnel to actively pursue and attempt to catch the monkeys. Older, more experienced chimps act as ambushers. They position themselves in the path of the fleeing monkeys, then attack from ambush to close the trap. Pulling this off takes some serious skill and intelligence. Remember, the chimps aren't tracking the monkeys over a flat surface, but through a forest canopy where the monkeys can move in all directions. Not to mention the monkeys are smaller and faster than the chimps. As the monkeys flee from the driver and chaser chimps, the blockers and ambusher must anticipate their movement and position themselves strategically to intercept. For the ambusher, this is a complex calculation. They have to consider the direction of travel and speed of the monkey, its reactions, the positioning of the other chimps, and the time needed to move up ahead and climb up the tree. All this to ensure they find a suitable hiding spot for the ambush. Once the trap is closed, the monkey has limited options. Face the ambusher, or double back and face the chaser chimps. This cooperative encircling strategy is a tactic commonly used by social species that pack hunt, from lions to wolves to painted dogs to humans. In 216 BC, during the Second Punic War, Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca pulled off a tactical masterpiece against the Romans at the Battle of Cannae, a battle so devastating that military strategists have been studying it for over 2,000 years. On paper, this fight shouldn't have been close. The Roman army was significantly larger, with around 86,000 men, compared to Hannibal's 50,000. As the opposing armies took up their positions on the battlefield, skirmishers from both sides rushed forward, Roman velites and Carthaginian light infantry hurling javelins and stones at each other. Meanwhile, as the Carthaginian army advanced, they took an unconventional crescent-shaped formation, with the weakest troops in the center and the strongest on the flanks. Hannibal anticipated the Romans would focus the fight on the center, as this was a tactic they had relied on before. Once the fighting between the skirmishers was done, they pulled back to their respective sides. In the next phase of the battle, the Carthaginian cavalry on the left and right wings advanced and engaged the Roman cavalry. Hannibal's heavy cavalry easily overwhelmed the Roman cavalry along the river and wiped them out. As the infantry battle began, Hannibal's thin center gradually gave ground, deliberately drawing the Roman forces deeper and creating a bulge in the Carthaginian line. This seemingly vulnerable center was in fact a part of Hannibal's strategy. He was luring the Romans into a trap. While the Roman infantry pressed forward, Hannibal's cavalry on the right flank crossed the battlefield and joined in the fight against the remaining Roman cavalry. Outnumbered and outclassed, the Romans who managed to stay alive fled the battlefield. Once the Roman infantry had pushed forward enough and had lost protection from their defeated cavalry, Hannibal's infantry on the flanks, composed of his best troops, attacked inward. The Roman forces found themselves compressed, unable to maneuver and overwhelmed as the Carthaginian forces pressed inward, attacking them on multiple fronts. The Carthaginian cavalry then returned to attack the Romans from the rear, completing the encirclement. The Romans, packed tightly together and unable to effectively use their weapons, found themselves surrounded and, for lack of a better word, were annihilated. What began as a battle turned into a massacre. These numbers can vary greatly depending on the source, but estimates on the Roman side are somewhere between 50 and 70,000 unalived in a single day. Carthaginian forces lost approximately 6 to 8,000. Just to put this into perspective, this is Mountain American Stadium on the campus of Arizona State University, and it has a max capacity of just about 54,000 people. Let's assume for argument's sake that the historical record is accurate, and we use the lower end of the reported Roman casualty count. Hannibal's army took down this many people, an army far larger in size, with primitive weapons, by sunset. It's hard to imagine that level of carnage. In military strategy, a pincer movement is a maneuver where the attacking forces move simultaneously from 2 or more directions converge on the enemy. The enemy force is then attacked on multiple fronts, and if fully encircled, cannot easily retreat. By executing a coordinated attack with his infantry on the flanks and using his cavalry to attack from the rear, Hannibal created a lethal pincer that completely encircled the Roman army. Just as the chimpanzees in the Tai National Park demonstrated strategic positioning and timing in hunting, Hannibal employed similar tactics to encircle and overwhelm the Romans on the battlefield of Cannae. This man in the white shirt and ball cap is about to be targeted by a crew of pickpockets as he enters the bus. I'll play this one through, see if you can figure out how many are involved. The man and the woman entering the bus first are the stall. Once they get to the top of the stairs, they stop, forcing the target to be pinched on the stairway. Often the stall of the group causes the target to bump into them and uses it as a sensory overload tactic while a lift is being made. The stairway leading onto the bus is the group's attack zone. It was intentionally chosen as it creates a confined space for the target to move through. The man in the blue shirt is the pick of the group. A pick is the person doing the actual theft, the lift. The 3 other men outside of the bus are the shade. Their job is to keep the target boxed in and block the view from outsiders while the lift is being made. The man in the blue backpack is raising his arm like he's trying to get the attention of someone on the bus. The man in the black shirt is lifting a backpack into the air. The other man in the black shirt is blocking the view on the right. Sensory overload happens when the target is touched, bumped, or rubbed, and it takes sensory precedence over the soft hand making the lift. The man and the woman coming down the stairs are intentionally making contact with the target. The man in the backpack intentionally dropped his elbow down on his back when the target turned around. This amount of touch all at once is confusing to the senses and aids in making the lift. You can tell when the target has made the pick. His arm touches the arm of the pick, skin-to-skin contact. Once he becomes aware, he tries to break away from the group. The pick managed to get his phone out, and that's what you see hitting the ground. All 6 people were involved in this setup, which becomes very clear when none of them actually get on the bus after the lift. Check out the final piece of misdirection here, as 2 of the men point a different direction as the phone is picked up. The slang terminology that we use to describe this type of an attack is a pinch setup, which is a nod to the military term pincer movement. A pinch setup is a coordinated attack, where the assailants obtain positional advantage around the target before launching the assault. There are 5 distinct types of pinch setups: the moving pinch, the stop pinch, the approach pinch, the concealed pinch, and the peekaboo pinch. The type we saw this group using is a moving pinch, which is a common tactic used against a moving target, thus the name. I will cover all 5 of these setups in depth throughout this series, as well as counter tactics. So what connects the chimpanzees, Hannibal's strategy, and this crew of pickpockets? Their tactics: obtain positional advantage, surround and assault. This is the strategy of encirclement. For the chimpanzees, this tactic allows them to hunt monkeys which are much smaller and faster than they are in difficult terrain. In the Battle of Cannae, Hannibal was able to destroy a fighting force much larger than his own. For pickpockets, it allows them to disrupt the movement of the target and disguise their sensory overload tactics in order to steal. Coordinated attacks, whether that's in pack hunters, military units, or criminal groups, often aim to gain positional advantage as a primary strategy for overwhelming their intended target. Encirclement forces the target to fight off the attack on multiple fronts and restricts their ability to escape. This strategy is a fundamental aspect of both warfare and predation. From the self-protection perspective, if you're up against more than one or a group, the faster you can identify the signs you're in danger, the faster you can respond. Knowing how the game is played can give you the awareness to see it coming. Positioning can give you valuable insight into someone's true intentions, but you have to be able to read the writing on the wall. This series will train you how to do just that.